Hi everyone, I'm Sakshi and I welcome you to the B.Ed notes presented by Train the Teacher. Everybody, today we'll be talking about Unit 1 of Paper 1, which is Development of Child at Different Stages. Okay, now this unit is really lengthy and it's extensively explained in our textbooks, but you don't have to worry, you just have to understand the flow. And in this video, for the next 1 hour or so, you'll be able to understand every nuance and every aspect of this unit. Okay, so let's get started, everybody. There are going to be 3 major elements. Element number 1 is growth and development, everything about it. For an example, first is the difference between growth and development, principles of growth and development, stages of growth and development. There are 3 stages: infancy, childhood, adolescence. Now the changes, now what are certain changes that take place during these stages? The changes are physical, mental, social, emotional, moral and educational. And what are certain factors that influence these changes? So this part is all about it. Element number 1. एलिमेंट नंबर 2 एवरीबडी इज़, नाउ फर्स्ट हमने बता दिया कि ग्रोथ डेवलपमेंट, सब कुछ ग्रोथ डेवलपमेंट के बारे में, उसका मतलब कौन से स्टेज में बॉडी में क्या क्या चेंजेस होते हैं, क्या क्या चेंजेस के प्रकार होते हैं, जैसे फिजिकल हो गया, मेंटल हो गया, और उनको क्या क्या फैक्टर्स इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं. सो वी हैव टोल्ड एवरीथिंग हियर. नेक्स्ट इज़ कि डेवलपमेंट अब कैसे हो रहा है. जो यहाँ पे हमने एक रफली बताया है, बट यहाँ पे हम वही डेवलपमेंट किन्हीं थ्योरीज़ के अकॉर्डिंग बताएंगे. तो 3 थ्योरीज़ हैं हमारे सिलेबस में: पियाजे की थ्योरी, कोलबर्ग की थ्योरी एंड एरिक्सन की थ्योरी. एंड पियाजे की थ्योरी इज़ ऑन कॉग्निटिव डेवलपमेंट. ओके, कोलबर्ग की थ्योरी इज़ ऑन मॉरल डेवलपमेंट एंड एरिक्सन की थ्योरी इज़ ऑन साइकोसोशल डेवलपमेंट. तो ये 3 थ्योरीज़ हैं एंड 100% इन तीनों में से एक थ्योरी हर बार ज़रूर आती है एग्ज़ाम में. सो यू बेटर बकल अप एंड प्रिपेयर वेल. ओके, द लास्ट इज़ फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट, जो कि हमारे यहाँ पे था ऑलरेडी, बट लेटर ऑन दे आर गोइंग टू गिव अस दीज 4 पॉइंट्स जो कि उन्होंने थोड़ा डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन किया है. सो हेरिडिटी एंड एनवायरनमेंट. ओके, एंड ये जो फैक्टर्स हैं ये कॉमन होते हैं. ये फिजिकल, ये आपका फिजिकली भी आपको इम्पैक्ट करता है, हेरिडिटी, मेंटली भी, सोशली भी, एंड लाइकवाइज फॉर ऑल. मैच्योरेशन भी फिजिकली, मेंटली, सोशली, इमोशनली, मॉरली, एजुकेशनल वाइज, पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल एज वेल, एंड मीडिया एज वेल. Okay, so these factors impact a human's growth and development at all the stages, okay, and in all these aspects. So इसलिए ये 4 points बाद में उन्होंने डिटेल में भी दिए हुए हैं. So this unit is all about it. अभी let's get started to understand each of these points in quiet detail. Okay. We'll be talking about the difference between growth and development. It's very simple. Growth has everything to do with your physical changes in the body, okay, whereas development has everything to do with the overall changes, because development does not only mean your physical changes. If you think about yourself when you were growing up, you are still growing up. Mentally we are growing up. You're pursuing your bachelor's, maybe you're pursuing your master's, you go to school, office, college. We interact with different people and we are developing, we are adapting and adopting different ways of learning, styling, and so many things. That's what a development means. Growth is only restricted to the physical growth, physical changes of the body. Okay, examples, of course, increase in height, increase in weight, whereas development includes better performance in sport or subject. That's a development that you're showing. Better work ethics, again, that's a development, etc. As I've already discussed, in growth, changes takes place in the size, number, kind, position, weight, etc. And in development, it's your physical, it's your mental, social, emotional changes, spiritual changes that take place. That's a development. Type of change, of course, it's a quantitative change, something that you can measure. Earlier the weight was 20, now it's 30. Earlier you were 5'3", now you're 5'5". Okay. This one, development, qualitative change. Quality improves, right? Earlier you were emotionally weak, but now you're emotionally intelligent. That's a qualitative change that you've brought in yourself. That's a development that you've done. Next one, continuity of the cycle. I hope we all know, we've studied in science that growth stops in adulthood. I mean, of course, you know, your weight keeps changing or fluctuating, but it does happen if you actually, you know, get into gym, let's say gym, or you are struck by a medical condition. Only in those cases. Otherwise, your height would grow and stop once you're 18 or 20. Your weight would grow and stop once you're 18 or 20. So no significant change can take place or takes place after adulthood or adolescence. But if we talk about development, development starts from your birth and ends at your death. So development is never ending. In life, there is always a room for improvement and development. The next one, we have broader and narrower term. Growth is one part or one component of development. Development is big and it includes physical changes of the body, right? Whereas, as I've written, development includes growth, and growth is one component of development. Very simple thing. Measurement, obviously, growth can be measured in terms of physical changes. And development, you can't measure, right? There is no assessment that tells you actually that how confident you were and earlier and how more confident you are. कोई टेस्ट नहीं है, कोई आपको स्कोर नहीं कर सकता. ऑफ कोर्स देर आर यू नो सिचुएशंस एंड ऑब्जर्वेशन. For an example, earlier you were not able to raise your voice before others. Earlier you were not able to put your viewpoint forward. But now you are developed. Now you've worked on yourself, and now you are able to put your point forward. That's a development. And of course, कोई assessment नहीं है. ये किसी ने ऑब्जर्व किया, ये आपने ऑब्जर्व किया अपने बारे में, एक्सपीरियंस किया, आपने फील किया. एंड दैट्स हाउ डेवलपमेंट गेट्स मेजर्ड. ओके. Talking about the principles of growth and development. Principle is a really big word. In simple word, it means general truth and general pattern about growth and development in humans. Okay. What are certain common things that take place in all of us, in that have taken place in you, in me, in your parents, family, in all the people on earth? So what are those common things? Principles. Okay, general pattern and general truth. The first point here is principle of continuity. Okay, now principle of continuity means that development starts from birth and it will continue till you die. So again, it's not only in me, let's say, that only my development will continue. No, it's a principle and it will happen in all the humans. So that is why the first one is develop principle of continuity in growth and development. The next one is principle of uniform pattern. जैसे कि in all of us, the development continues from birth to death. Similarly, in all of us, there is a uniform pattern of development. Again, it's not that you will have you'll grow, you'll develop in a different way than I. It's not like that. There is a uniform pattern in all of us. Now, for an example, if you look at a child, how does a child learn a language? How does a child learn to talk? He would first pick up some sounds, a, m, p, right? The sounds, he'll pick up some sounds like right? Then he'll pick up some letters like m, p, and then after that he'll pick up some little small words like ma, pa, mum, a, right? And then from words some phrases and then sentences, right? So again, it's a uniform pattern. Nobody learns to talk directly without sounds, words and letters. So this is known as uniform pattern, a common pattern. One more example is the milk teeth. So again, हम सब में वही uniform pattern है. Our milk teeth will grow, will fall, and then we'll get our the rigid teeth in place. So uniform pattern in all of us. Now similar to this principle, we have this one, that development proceeds from simple to more complex. ओके जैसे अभी मैंने आपको एग्जांपल्स दिया लैंग्वेज लर्निंग का, फ्रॉम साउंड्स टू लेटर्स टू वर्ड्स एंड देन टू सेंटेंसेस. सो अगेन जो हमारा डेवलपमेंट होता है वो सिंपल से शुरू होता है और कॉम्प्लेक्स ही होता जाता है, एंड दैट्स हाउ वी लर्न टू डील विद द कॉम्प्लेक्स थिंग्स. One more example is that a child learns to lift something. Let's say he would learn to lift it with both the hands first, then maybe with one hand, and then with few fingers only. So again simple से शुरू हुआ, दोनों हाथ से उठाना, फिर एक हाथ से, and then with few fingers itself. So simple to more complex. Again, it's common in all of us. Next we have rate of growth in male and female. This is again a principle of rate of growth. Again, it's common in all the females hit puberty, they hit adolescence at the age of 11 to 12, whereas male hit adolescence a year later at the age of 12 to 13. So again, it's again a principle, a common principle. Correlation and this point, which is development depends on maturation and learning. There is a correlation between growth and development. The better your physical brain is grown, the better you'll be able to develop. When I say physical brain, I mean to say your nervous system. I'm sure you must have seen physically handicapped or specially abled people. I'm sure you must have seen adults who are behaving or who behave like children, right? Now obviously there is a direct connection because they have not grown, they've not been able to grown, their nervous system has not been able to grown, and that's why they are not able to develop. They are 20 years old but still they behave like kids because of the physical growth. So again, these 2 points are very much connected. Development depends on maturity and learning. So again, the similar points, changes in brain, nervous system, and helps in development of the child. One more thing here, one more correlation between growth and development apart from the specially abled child is that I'm sure you must have seen a child who does not get enough to eat, enough to rest, sleep, especially the kids who have to work in very early age. So because they are not getting all the proper nutrients, that is why they stay weak physically and many times mentally as well. So their body is not grown, they are malnutritioned, and it does affect their development, their exposure of so many things. Okay, so these were these 2 points, correlation and maturation, maturity and learning. The last one is development proceeds from the head downwards. So it's very obvious. I think again this point is very much connected to the last 2 points as well, that development starts with head. So child gains control of head first, then arms and legs, right? A child controls or manages his movement of head, then arms, he tries to sit, then he uses his legs, and his legs also, first it will be crawling. The child will first sit, then he'll try to crawl, then stand with some support, and at the end it will be independent walking. So again this one also is very much connected to from simple to complex, from head to the other body parts. So these were some of the principles of growth and development, the common pattern that we all have in our body, we all have followed for developing. We're going to talk about stages of development. Throughout our lives, we go through different stages that shape who we actually are. And today, we'll explore those stages only: the stage of infancy, childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. Okay, so let's get started with the first one. We all start with this special time called infancy. This is when we are babies and we need a lot of care and love from our families. Is infancy, which begins with prenatal development. Prenatal development is from conception to birth, and it is further divided into three stages: germinal, embryonic, and fetal. Germinal stage, this is initial stage after conception when the fertilized egg attaches to the uterine wall. Okay. Embryonic stage, during this stage, which is usually from 2 to 10 weeks. In this stage, major organs and body systems begin to develop, begin to form. This is embryonic, and I think the name itself is self-explanatory. Fetal stage, in this stage, it starts from week 10 to birth. It stays till birth, and the developing organism, is called fetus. Whatever is developing inside a mother's womb, that is known as fetus, and that is why it is known as fetal stage. It grows and matures during this stage. The fetus grows and matures. I hope you are clear with this. The fertilized egg attaches to the uterine wall. This is embryonic, where the baby develops the basic organs, body system, and in this one, the organs and everything else develops further so that it is ready for the outside world. So this is our prenatal stage. Prenatal, pre-birth. Now, under infancy, the next stage is neonatal. So prenatal, before birth; neonatal, the new birth, the newborn baby. In neonatal stage, this is the period from birth to 1 month old, 3 weeks hardly, and where the infants, the newborns, are highly dependent on their parents or their caregivers for their basic needs. All right, so right after neonatal, we have the infancy period. It spans from 1 month to around 2 years. Now, during this stage, infants grow rapidly. They learn to crawl, walk. They learn to pick up some language, nuances of some language, and some social skills. Some chit-chat, talking, communication, not skills, but they develop how to communicate. So very basic elements they develop during this stage. They also form strong attachment to their primary caregivers, you can say. I'm sure you must have seen infants at your home, so they're always, mama, 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 and if mama is away for some time, they would ensure that everybody is in trouble, right? So that's the stage, infancy stage. I hope you're clear with this stage. Stages of development: the first one is infancy, prenatal, neonatal, infancy. Prenatal is further divided into germinal, embryonic, and fetal. Then we have neonatal and infancy. After infancy, we'll move on to childhood. Childhood is a time which is filled with playing, learning, and making friends. And as we get older, we continue to grow and explore the world around us during this phase, which is childhood. It is also divided in 3 phases or 3 stages, which is early childhood, middle childhood, and late childhood. So let's get started with the first one, which is early childhood. Early childhood typically covers ages 2 to 5. Children become more independent and they develop cognitive, language, and social skills. Cognitive means anything that can be learned, practiced, and memorized. Any skill, any quality or characteristic that you can acquire by learning it. Okay, and people can test you on that. That is cognitive. In early childhood only, children try to develop the world around them, and that helps them in learning or developing the most. Okay, so playing is a crucial part of their development as they explore the world around them in early childhood. In middle childhood, which includes ages 5 to 9, this one, which is middle childhood. In this, children continue to refine their cognitive abilities, they engage in more complex social interactions, and they acquire academic skills in middle childhood. So this is the stage where they actually start, they dive into academics and other things. Okay. In middle childhood itself, friendships become more significant and they start developing a sense of identity. In late childhood, which ranges from 9 to 12 years, it spans from ages 9 to 12, children further develop their cognitive abilities and social skills, and they become more independent, and they begin to navigate the challenges of pre-adolescence already in the late childhood. Okay. So this was all about the stage which is childhood. We'll move to the next stage, which is adolescence, which is the exciting teenage, which brings the exciting teenage years, right? And this is a time many changes, both physically and emotionally, take place in us, and we go through stages like early adolescence, mid adolescence, and late adolescence. We experience puberty. We start figuring out who we are actually, and it can further be divided into 3 stages: pre-adolescence, middle adolescence, and late adolescence. Let's get started by talking about pre-adolescence or early adolescence. So as you see that pre-adolescence in girls, okay, girls hit puberty, again it's pre, so this and this will overlap. In some kids, in some children, puberty hit early, especially girls, so in their late childhood only they may end up hitting puberty. Okay, so this is the basic age range, 11 to 13 years, and in boys it's 12 to 14 years. Okay, so that's pre-adolescence. Rapid physical changes occur due to puberty, along with emotional and social adjustments. Peer relationships, friendships become increasingly influential at this age, in pre-adolescence age, everyone. Okay, in middle adolescence, it covers ages 15 to 17 years. Okay, adolescents further develop their identity, they gain more independence, and in this age they try to actually start exploring their future goals in mid-adolescence. Okay, in late adolescence, which ranges from 18 to 21, so late adolescence involve this becoming more mature, taking more responsibilities. They consolidate their identities here at this stage, and they start making, I'll say, important decisions. They start becoming mature at this age. So it was all about this, everybody. So again, infancy, conception to 2 years, childhood 2 years to 12 years, adolescence 12 years to 21 years, adulthood 21 years to further. And so this was all about stages of development. A very short and helpful table to you, which is going to summarize so many things for you just in one table. Okay, it is about development that takes place in different phases and what are the different changes that take place. So if we talk about physical changes, what are the physical changes that take place during infancy, during childhood, during adolescence? What about mental aspects in infancy, childhood, adolescence, and likewise? So let's get started. There are 5 to 6 common points that I have chosen for this. Physical aspects, gross motor skills. During infancy, the child develops head control, rolls, sits, crawls, and walks with support. So if you talk about gross motor skills, this happens during infancy. During childhood, the gross motor skills are they develop better control of movements like running, jumping, etc. And in adolescence, they develop more coordinated movements. Fine motor skills. During infancy, the child grabs objects and explores it with hands and fingers. During childhood, they develop hand-eye coordination, and for an example, they start writing and drawing. During adolescence, they can do tasks of precision, for an example, playing an instrument and cooking, maybe along with drawing. The more precision, a task of precision is knitting, designing, etc. The third one is strength development. During infancy, muscles get stronger. They start rolling, crawling, pushing, sitting, etc. During childhood, the muscles strengthen by playing, and during adolescence they gain significant strength and they're able to lift possibly everything that's around. That's of course in the zone. The next point under physical aspect is coordination and balance. So it is basic, better, best. For an example, during infancy they learn to sit and balance. Coordination and balance, kitna balance kar pa rahe hain body ko. During childhood they learn to hop, climb, jump, etc. And during adolescence it's at its best. They are able to play different sports using different abilities. Bones development. During infancy, it's in the growing stage. The bones are soft. During childhood, there is faster growth, and during adolescence it reaches maturity, growth stops. Okay, so if for an example height, obviously height is directly related to development of bones, and the muscles become strongest and the height or the development of bone stops. The last point is pubertal development. Obviously during infancy there are no signs of it. During childhood, initial signs gets they get started, they become visible. For example, pubic hair, breast development, they are lightly or slightly visible. And during adolescence, rapid changes take place, like for an example, hair growth at different places, genitals, etc. So this was all about physical aspect, everybody. We'll talk about the mental aspect. Now there are 5 points that I have mentioned in mental aspect: cognitive development, language development, memory development, information processing, self-awareness and identity. Infants begin to explore world through their sensory experience. Okay, so this is the cognitive development that takes place. During childhood, children develop language skill. They engage in pretend play, symbolic play, pretend play, like they think that animals mein jaan hai na. They think sometimes they would use their hands considering ki mobile phone hai, so that's pretend play. During adolescence, they think abstractly, and problem solving skills are there, planning skills and many other skills they end up developing. So this is cognitive development that takes place during different phases. Language development, they begin to coo and babble. During childhood, they use phrases with correct grammar, and during adolescence they are able to develop complex communication skills. Memory, basic, improves memory capacity, and then enhanced memory capacity. Information processing, so they are able to recognize familiar faces and objects, object permanence. Okay, during childhood they are able to recall information and follow instructions, and during adolescence they become critical thinker. Self-awareness, the next point is self-awareness and identity. So during infancy they begin to recognize themselves in mirror. During childhood they develop a sense of personal identity, and during adolescence they establish a more cohesive sense of self through values, beliefs, opinions, perspective, ethics, etc. The last point, everybody, is moral development. So during infancy there is basic understanding of what is right and wrong. So there, it's only punishment and reward thing that pushes them of understanding what's morally right and what's not. During childhood they understand rules, and they show empathy and fairness, and during adolescence there is advanced moral development. So this was all about mental aspect. You can take a broader look at it, everybody. All right, now we'll move forward to emotional aspect. In emotional aspect, there are 5 points again: emotional bonding, expressing emotions, empathy, emotional resilience, and emotional regulation. During infancy, there is attachment with caregivers. During childhood, caregivers and friends are the ones who children are attached with. And during adolescence, caregivers, friends, and they experience romantic feelings. So the people who they experience romantic feeling with, they get attached with them. Next we have expressing emotions. During infancy, they are able to express basic emotions like joy, sadness, anger. During childhood, they express emotions verbally, okay, here through expressions, here verbally. And during adolescence, it's both. Empathy, the feeling of feeling others' pain and happiness and sorrow, others' emotion. So here it is good, here it is better, and here it is best. Simply, you can expand and extend it in your own words. Emotional resilience. Resilience means the ability to bounce back from a tragic incident or from low point. During infancy, they learn basic adaptability, as a mother says ki chup ho jao, nahi rote, achhe bachche ho. So that's how they get this basic affection to learn the basic adaptability. During childhood, it gets better, and during adolescence, it gets enhanced. The last point is emotional regulation. Okay, how do they regulate themselves emotionally? During childhood, it depends completely on caregiver to soothe distress. Again, very much connected to the last point. During infancy, it depends on caregiver to soothe distress. Again, very much related to the last point. During childhood, they learn basic emotional regulation strategy like taking deep breath and controlling their emotion, sometimes talking to friends. And during adolescence, they automatically develop advanced coping skills, okay, like again talking to a near and dear ones, maybe writing a diary, etc. So this was all about emotional aspect, everybody. You can have a look. Now let's talk about social aspect. In social aspect, social awareness takes place where infant begins to recognize and respond to familiar faces. During childhood, a child expands social circle and understands basic social norms. During adolescence, the teenager deepens understanding of social dynamics and they have the broader understanding of it. Next we have playing. So during infancy, solitary playing, and the infant starts showing interest in others. Solitary playing takes place and they get interested in playing with others. Group activities, and they learn cooperative play skills. For an example, by taking turns. So पहले आप खेलो फिर मेरी बारी आएगी, आप करो फिर मैं. So they learn that during childhood. And in adolescence, they learn, obviously they participate in greater group activities, and they learn planning, leadership, leading, initiating, etc. After this, we have social skill development. Basic social skill they end up developing during infancy, like eye contact, smiling, responding. And during childhood, it expands into listening, taking turns, and resolving conflicts. During adolescence, it becomes advanced through active listening, assertiveness, negotiation, etc. Awareness about culture, an important point. During infancy, they begin to respond to cultural cues, right? During childhood, they develop awareness of different cultures and individuals, okay, differently. And during adolescence, deeper understanding takes place, and the parents and the teachers, they try to foster inclusivity, diversity and inclusion. Everybody is same. We must accept and celebrate each other's culture, that sort of emotion. Peer influence. So During infancy, it's not applicable. There is no peer influence. They just play, as it was written. Solitary playing takes place, and they start showing interest in others. But there is no, the other infants fail to influence the other infants. During childhood, yes, they start experiencing and they learn to navigate them. And during adolescence, there are independent choices and they develop self-identity. Obviously, peer influence takes place, but independent choices also take place. So this was all about social aspect, everybody. We'll move to the last one, which is educational aspect, and there are certain points. So from educational perspective, during infancy, they learn basic sounds, basic sounds, cooing sounds. And during childhood, it's words, complete sentences, okay. And during adolescence, obviously there is an advanced language skill set that they develop. Numeracy skill, numbers, basic number recognition takes place. If you show them fingers like 1, 2, they'll be able to understand. They even babble some counting. So it's very basic. Here in childhood, they do understand obviously the basic number system, but also they understand addition, subtraction, the basic mathematical concepts they understand. And in adolescence, obviously complex mathematical concepts, all the theorems and everything else, multiplication, BODMAS. Literacy skill, obviously exposure to books. We provide them the basic books where pictures are there, visuals are more. So there is an exposure to books. During childhood, yes, letter recognition, phrases, phonetics, reading, writing skills and everything else, they're exposed to. And in advance, it's all. Cognitive development, yes, develops cause and effect. Cognitive, it's like they know that if they will press the bell, it will make sound. So that is cause and effect, cognition. Here during childhood, they develop logic and reasoning, and in adolescence, it's advanced critical thinking skills. Educational environment, interaction with caregiver, and they learn everything from the caregiver, from politeness to rudeness to the basic manners from the caregiver. During childhood, formal education begins. So there are friends, family, locality who are responsible for the educational environment. And in adolescence, they engage in more structured educational environment, and hence everything else also is responsible for that educational environment. Study skills, not applicable. They don't study, they're just exposed to books. Literary skills, not study. During childhood, they develop basic study habits like doing homework, going to school, and in adolescence, it becomes advanced by there are tuitions, homeworks, time management skills, preparing for exams, etc. So this was all about educational aspect, everybody, and this was all about the aspects and the development and growth that takes place during different stages. Now we'll talk about factors influencing these changes. जैसे physical aspect में क्या होगा, mental aspect में क्या होगा, emotional में क्या होगा, social में क्या होगा. Now everybody, a quick hack or a quick way to recall or remember this is these 4 elements. Okay, जैसे कि physical change जो भी होगा, physical change को impact करेगी किसी भी family की socio economic condition. Okay, मेंटल चेंज को भी इम्पैक्ट करेगी, इमोशनल चेंज को भी इम्पैक्ट करेगी, सोशल चेंज को भी करेगी. तो ये जो 4 पॉइंट्स हैं, लेट्स से इन केस आप एग्जाम में आपको याद नहीं आ रहे हैं सारे पॉइंट्स, या नहीं हो पा रहा है, यू आर जस्ट नॉट एबल टू रिकॉल, यू आर नॉट एबल टू कम अप विद एनी स्पॉन्टेनियस रिस्पॉन्स. तो ये 4 पॉइंट्स अगर आप याद कर लोगे तो ये कॉमन है. ये सोशल आपकी सोशल डेवलपमेंट को भी इम्पैक्ट करेंगी, इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट को भी इम्पैक्ट करेंगी, मेंटल को भी और फिजिकल को भी. हेरिडिटी, जो हमें ट्रेड्स अपने माता पिता से मिले हैं, हेरिडिटी इम्पैक्ट करता है. फिजिकल फिजिकल आपकी फिजिकल ग्रोथ को, आपकी कॉग्निटिव डेवलपमेंट को, आपकी इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस को एंड सोशल स्किल्स को। इन्वायरमेंट, आपका स्कूल का इन्वायरमेंट, आपकी लोकेलिटी का इन्वायरमेंट और आपके हाउस का इन्वायरमेंट, ये अपने में ये 3 पॉइंट्स हैं। जैसे आपने लिखा सोशियो इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन, हेरिडिटी, इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ स्कूल, इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ लोकेलिटी, इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ हाउस, एंड देन हेल्थ एंड फिजिकल डेवलपमेंट एवरीबडी। तो ये 4 पॉइंट्स जो हैं टेक्निकली if we divide these as well, so 4 5 6 पॉइंट्स हैं, ये कॉमन है। ओके, एक बारी लेट्स क्विकली लुक इनटू दीज डिटेल्ड लाइन आइटम्स। फिजिकल ग्रोथ को, फिजिकल डेवलपमेंट को इम्पैक्ट करता है इन्वायरमेंट, बच्चे को आप कैसा दे रहे हो, आप कैसी लव एंड केयर उसको प्रोवाइड करवा रहे हो। ओके, एक्सरसाइज, sleep and rest, food, economic condition, climate and heredity, mental aspect, under nutrition during infancy रहा है बच्चा, तो उसका mental aspect influence होगा और affect होगा। Influence of parent-child interaction, heredity, sex difference influenced by culture, socio-economic status of family, maladjustments, family again, school, neighbors, physical growth environment, तो वही सब है। And I think you just don't need to मेमोराइज और रिमेंबर इट। या आप नेचुरली भी सोचोगे तो आपको बहुत सारे पॉइंट्स आ जाएंगे दिमाग में। इमोशनल एस्पेक्ट, इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ स्कूल, इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ फैमिली एंड नेबरहुड, हेल्थ एंड फिजिकल डेवलपमेंट, एज, सोशल डेवलपमेंट, एटीट्यूड ऑफ पेरेंट्स, फटीग, टायर्डनेस, बिहेवियरल प्रॉब्लम। एंड सोशल एस्पेक्ट में है फिजिकल, फैमिली, स्कूल, इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट, फिजिकल हेल्थ, कम्युनिटी, इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ रिलीजियस इंस्टीट्यूट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है, मीन्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन एंड एंटरटेनमेंट, लोकेलिटी, सोशो इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस, पेरेंटल ऑक्यूपेशन, सिबलिंग इन्फ्लुएंस, साइज ऑफ द फैमिली, हेरिडिटी। सो इट्स लाइक दैट। ये बहुत ही कॉमन पॉइंट्स है एवरीबडी। Okay, so we'll not spend much time on it because it's really easy to understand, and for your exam sake you can just remember, you can hold on to these points. We are going to talk about Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Okay, where we are going to talk about who Jean Piaget is, what is the meaning of cognition. We'll have a look at the chart, the theory itself, and we'll be talking about it in detail. Schema, assimilation, accommodation, equilibrium, and the different stages of it. I hope we are ready. Then let's get started. Great. So everybody, a common mistake that many students do is that they call or they pronounce his name as Jean Piaget. Okay, so it's not that, it's Jean Piaget. I've written it also here to simplify for you. Jean Piaget. Okay, Jean Piaget was a 20th century biologist. He was from Swiss. He later turned into child psychologist, and he was famous for his theory of cognitive development. The theory says that development of thinking in humans from infancy to adulthood, that's what the theory talks about or covers. He was so keen that he studied his own kids for the theory, and he gave so apt theory that no one termed his theory wrong ever. Okay, cognition, everybody. What is the meaning of cognition? I'll tell you in a very simple way, and I'm sure you're never going to forget. Cognition is a person's ability to thunder. Okay, cognition is a person's ability to thunder, a person's ability to think, a person's ability to hypothesize, a person's ability to understand, a person's ability to notice, a person's ability to draw conclusion, to evaluate, to reason and remember. This is a quick short way for you to understand what cognition is. Okay, the word cognition has come from Latin word which is cognoscere. Cog means together, and the cere means to know, which in turn means getting to know. So a person's ability to think, understand, reason, remember, imagine, hypothesize, understand, notice, draw conclusion, evaluate, reason and remember is cognition. Okay, and cognitive development is a process by which an infant becomes intelligent by acquiring knowledge and through thinking, reasoning and learning. So this is cognition. I hope we understand the meaning of cognition before we, get started with the theory of understanding cognitive development. All right. So Piaget's cognitive theory of development बहुत आसान है, but आपको समझनी पड़ेगी, okay? Because we can't memorize it. If you are going to memorize it, it will not stick with you for long. So Piaget's theory of cognitive development is divided into three aspects: cognitive structure, cognitive functioning, and stages of development. Cognitive structure में है schema, cognitive functioning में है assimilation, accommodation and equilibrium, and stages में है sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and stage of formal operation. Sensory motor stage is further divided into 6 stages: stage of reflex actions, stage of primary circular reaction, stage of circular reaction, stage of coordination of secondary schemata or schema, stage of tertiary circular activities, and stage of invention of new means through mental continuation. Pre-operational stage is again further divided into 2: preconceptual and intuitive stage, and concrete and stage of formal operations have no further subdivisions. So this is how the table looks like. You can have a look. All right, we'll move further, everybody, and let's understand what a schema is. So the first element under cognitive structure is schema. Schema is internal representation of world in one's mind, a way of organizing the knowledge and a way of storing everything we've learned so far. बहुत अच्छा example देती हूँ मैं आपको एक. For an example, देखो, my schema for Holi festival includes colors, gujia, gulal, lots of homemade delicacies and guests. But someone else's schema may have entirely, different, things into it of the same festival. Internal representation of the world in one's mind. My schema for studying includes note-taking, sticky notes, color pens, detailed reading, etc. Somebody's schema of studying may be completely different. उनके schema में क्या पता आपके schema में हो, using internet, watching YouTube, understanding it, listening, okay, highlighting in the books. That may be your schema. Okay, the third one is a newborn, has a sucking schema, which means anything that touches the lips or fingers, ये उनका innate schema होता है. He'll start sucking it. For example, toy, thumb, a thing. The schema develops by age. For an example, genetically programmed. Yeah. So ये जो schema है ना, ये genetically programmed schema है. I hope you're able to understand what a schema is. Internal representation of the world in one's mind. Now we'll understand what assimilation means, everybody, okay? In assimilation, the learner fits the new idea into what he already knows. Schema is only modified, not changed, using the existing schema, okay, the existing knowledge. And assimilation occurs when a human is faced with a new thing or experienced and refers to previously learned information in order to make sense of it. Again, example देखते हैं, बहुत अच्छे से समझ आएगा आपको. The child looks at the TikToker, okay, with loud makeup, and he ends up considering him a Bloody Mary who scares kids. I hope you know Bloody Mary who scares kids. Now the kid shouts in fear, "Ghost, ghost!" Okay, which is not true, of course. वो एक TikToker है, loud makeup किया हुआ है, makeup tutorial था maybe, right? But बच्चे को लगा कि oh, it's a ghost जो बच्चों को पकड़ता है, Bloody Mary. तो उसने बोला oh, ghost, ghost, ghost. Okay, second example, a child sees a man who is bald on top. हाफ वो गंजे हैं ऊपर से, एक आदमी को बच्चे ने देखा, एंड ही हैज़ गॉट फ्रिजी हेयर ऑन साइड. तो बीच में से गंजे हैं और साइड में हेयर है, और बच्चे को लगा ओह इट्स अ क्लाउन. सो ही सेड आउट ऑफ एक्साइटमेंट ही सेड ओह क्लाउन. सो ऑब्वियसली विच इज़ नॉट ट्रू. सो असिमिलेशन में यही होता है, जब भी एक नई चीज़ आती है तो हमारा दिमाग जो है वो जो पहले से हमें उस जैसी चीज़ पता है वो उससे कनेक्ट करने की और समझने की कोशिश करता है. ऑल राइट, सो दिस इज असिमिलेशन. द लास्ट वन, नॉट द लास्ट, second last one, a very important one, which is accommodation. Now this happens when the existing knowledge does not work and we have to change or add the new schema in order to understand the new object, new thing or new situation. Let's understand it. In the previous example, looking at the TikToker, the child screamed thinking it's a ghost, which is not fair. Now the kid's mother explained to him that everyone who puts loud makeup with white clothes is not ghost. She's a dancer, you know. Now with this new knowledge, the child was able to change his schema of ghost and make this idea fit better to a standard concept of ghost. I hope you're able to make sense. Assimilation में देखो क्या होता है. Assimilation में compare, I've made a little chart here. Schema, what you already know. Assimilation, comparing an existing thing with a new similar thing. Only comparison takes place here. यहाँ पे हम किसी conclusion पे नहीं पहुँचते, यहाँ पे कोई correction नहीं होता, यहाँ पे just आपको new चीज़ मिली और आपको जो पता है आप उससे compare करते हो कि ओह क्या ये वो है. But in accommodation आप correct करते हो बच्चे की लर्निंग को एंड दैट्स हाउ यू हेल्प. ओके, ऑल्सो क्लाउन वाला एग्जाम्पल देखते हैं. इन द प्रीवियस एग्जाम्पल, लुकिंग एट bald man, the child screamed clown, which is not right, and it needs to be changed. So the father explained that the man was not a clown, even though his hair was like clown's hair, but he wasn't wearing a funny costume, was he? And he wasn't doing any funny thing to make people laugh. देखिए ऐसे फादर अपने बच्चे को समझा रहे हैं, वो डिस्टिंग्विश कर रहे हैं प्रॉपर्ली. Now with this new knowledge, the boy was able to change his schema of clown and make this idea fit better to be a standard concept of clown. Okay everybody, so this is what accommodation means. The last one is equilibrium. So equilibrium occurs when the child's schema can deal with the most of new information through assimilation. However, an unpleasant stage of disequilibrium, disbalance, occurs when new information cannot be filled into existing schemas. The balance relation between assimilation and accommodation is known as equilibrium. Equilibrium between both is very important for the cognitive functioning of the child, and equilibrium means state of balance. In short, state of balance between an existing knowledge and new knowledge. Example, in both the examples of TikToker and clown, if the child stays confused, it means a disequilibrium has taken place. So it's like that. Equilibrium is all about maintaining balance and avoiding disequilibrium. I hope everybody it did make sense to you. Equilibrium, accommodation, assimilation. You can also refer to this mini chart. Schema, what you already know. Assimilation, comparing an existing thing with a similar new thing. Accommodation, when you are able to distinguish between those two similar things which are actually different. Okay, and equilibrium, maintaining a balance between applying old knowledge and changing behavior to get new knowledge. So this was all about schema, assimilation, accommodation and equilibrium. Now we'll move to the stages of development. We'll start with sensory motor stage. Alright, so Piaget's theory of cognitive development, sensory motor stage, birth to 2 years. I've written 6 simple points. Sensory exploration, infants use their senses to learn about the world. Okay, reflexive behavior, obviously reflex behavior is automatic response of the body to something. For example, hot object आएगा तो बच्चे को लगेगा तो वो तुरंत वो करेगा, तो वो रिफ्लेक्स बिहेवियर सीखता है इस एज में. ऑब्जेक्ट परमानेंस, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है ये. अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट ऑब्जेक्ट्स एग्जिस्ट इवन व्हेन नॉट सीन. मम्मी उसको नहीं दिखेगी लेकिन उसको पता है कि मम्मी है, एंड देन he'll cry. Also, let's say उसका कोई टॉय नहीं है, उसका that tiger toy, soft toy is not there, so he'll cry because he knows कि वो आसपास नहीं है but वो है, वो exist करता है. Circular reactions, it means repeating actions to explore their effects for the sake of enjoyment, like sucking thumb, pulling something like that. Imitation, copying actions of others, like for an example, they copy their parents, they copy what the other sibling is doing. cause and effect understanding, for example pressing a button on a toy that produces sound, so वो देखेगा कि ये करूँगा तो इससे क्या होगा. That curiosity is always there, and the circular reaction फिर से आ जाएगा कि वो करते रहेंगे वो देखने के लिए. See, understanding that circular actions lead to certain outcomes. So this is all about sensory motor stage, everybody. Also, as we remember that sensory motor stage has some subsections or the sub levels. Let's look into that as well. So sensory motor stage had these 6 sub stages. Let's understand quickly them as well. So here they are, and they are very similar to what we've just discussed. Substage reflexes, okay. Birth to 1 month. Description automatic reflexes, जैसे कि innate schema, automatic reflexes होंगे उसके, innate schema होगा, sucking, grasping, etc. Primary circular reaction 1 month to 4 months. Primary circular reaction includes repeated action, repetitive actions on his own body to drive pleasure, जैसे thumbs up करना या कुछ और करना, okay. Secondary circular reaction 4 months to 8 months. Now repeated actions focused on objects, so repeatedly shaking a rattle to produce sound, repeatedly throwing something like that. Next is coordination of secondary schema 8 months to 12 months, जैसे कि coordination of different actions to achieve a goal, जैसे कि using a stick to reach a toy, okay. Coordination of secondary schema. Then we have tertiary circular reaction 12 months to 18 months. Cause and effect thinking, जो कि बहुत ज़्यादा सिमिलर है circular reaction से. Beginning of representational thought 18 months to 24 months, जहाँ पे ये beginning है next stage की directly. Symbolic pretend play, हम बात करेंगे इसके बारे में डिटेल में, pretend play के बारे में, okay. So these were the 6 stages, जो बहुत simple है, and they are very much related to what we've just already discussed. Alright, now we'll move forward to the next stage, which is pre-operational stage, and it is from 2 to 7 years. Now this stage is further divided, I hope you remember that this stage was further divided into 2 sub-stages. So pre-operational, pre-conceptual period and intuitive stage. Now pre-conceptual period is from 2 to 4 years, whereas intuitive is from 4 to 7 years, okay. Also pre-conceptual has 3 elements like symbolic play, animism and animistic thinking. I've highlighted them from yellow. And the intuitive one has the other 4 elements like egocentrism, okay, limited understanding of conservation, language and reasoning. Let's start talking about symbolic play. It's very easy to understand. I'm sure you must have observed children at your home. Try reading it, please. Children engage in pretend play. They use objects to represent other things. For example, using a block as a phone, right? So it's like that. That is symbolic play or pretend play. Egocentrism, difficulty in understanding perspective, that is egocentrism. The word itself is self-explanatory. Animism, children attribute lifelike qualities to objects, like behaving stuffed animal has feelings. I'm sure this, even we all have done it, right? Animism, that my teddy bear is my best friend. My teddy bear is hungry, let me feed my teddy bear. So it's like that. Animistic thinking, they behave that natural phenomena are caused by personal factors, okay. For an example, thinking thunderstorm occurs because someone is angry, okay. So this is animistic thinking. Pretend play, animism, animistic thinking, everything is in preconceptual one. Now in intuitive one, we've already talked about egocentrism. Next is limited understanding of conservation. For an example, inability to grasp that quantity remains same despite changes in appearance, okay. So even if let's say there is a row of 6 coins, remain the same even if they're spread out. So it's like that. Amount of liquid remains the same even if it is poured in different container. वो understanding अभी नहीं है, okay. Language, rapid language development takes place. Cooing से वो words और phrases पे आ जाते हैं, समझने लगते हैं, पूरे sentences भी बोलते हैं. Reasoning intuitive होती है, logical नहीं होती है. So this was all about pre-operational phase, everybody, sensory, motor and pre-operational stage. Now we'll go to the next one, which is concrete operational, 7 to 11 years. तो यहाँ पे अब हम देखेंगे कि काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें बच्चों को समझ आने लग जाती है, जैसे कि लॉजिकल थिंकिंग, okay, they can draw conclusion, classification and seriation, so they can sort toys by color, shape, size etc, classify कर पाते हैं, and they can put them in specific order too. Decentration, they can consider multiple perspective, जैसे कि यहाँ पे egocentrism था, यहाँ पे decentration है. Next is reversibility, they understand that actions can be reversed. For an example, puzzle can be made again. रिवर्सिबिलिटी का उनको समझ आता है. मेंटल ऑपरेशंस, दे कैन सॉल्व प्रॉब्लम्स इन देयर हेड लाइक एडिशन, सब्ट्रैक्शन. कंजर्वेशन, अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट क्वालिटी ऑफ समथिंग स्टेज द सेम इवन इफ इट चेंजेस द अपीयरेंस, जैसे हमने यहाँ पे ऑलरेडी बात करी है कंजर्वेशन की. सो दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट concrete operational. The last phase, everybody, is formal operation, which is 11 to then adulthood. इसमें 6 points हैं, बहुत easy हैं. ये हमारा best level of cognitive development है, जहाँ पे सब कुछ full fledged almost हो गया है. Abstract thinking उनको समझ आने लग जाती है. They understand the concept of love, justice, friendship, abstract topics. Okay, hypothetical reasoning उन्हें समझ आने लग जाती है. Can imagine about imaginary situation, what if you were astronaut, what if this happened. Okay, scientific reasoning also, about the last point, maths में I'm sure हम सब ने वो question solve किए कि suppose Ram has 10 apples, if 2 apples are taken, how many will be left, things like that. So ये 11 के बाद ही उनके curriculum में introduce होती हैं. Scientific reasoning, for an example, why should we not drink water while eating food? How does the aroma of perfume reaches within some seconds after spraying? वो सारे concepts उनको समझ आने लग जाते हैं. Problem solving skills develop करते हैं, obviously, no explanation required. Reflective thinking, they can react or they can reflect on their thoughts कि अच्छा मैंने ऐसा किया, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था, और मैंने ऐसा किया, अच्छा किया. Okay, that what do we say, that introspection takes place. The last one is complex cognitive abilities also start taking place, like decision making, planning their time, their day, time management, okay, decision making about their career, etc. So everybody, this was all about Piaget's theory of cognitive development. I hope we were able to make sense out of it. We are going to talk about Kohlberg's theory of moral development. It has various levels, various stages. We'll have very easy description with some really simple examples. But before all of this, what do we actually understand by the word moral? Let's get to know it. Moral means our beliefs, our values that guide us, that guide our behavior, and that help us distinguish between right and wrong. That is morality, नैतिकता. उसके बाद there are certain aspects of morality, जो कि हमें moral decision लेने में help करती है, जो कि हमें moral इंसान बनाती है. There are certain aspects of morality. Okay, aspect number 1 is moral knowledge, which means understanding the moral concepts. वो moral knowledge है हमारी. ओके, ऑनेस्टी के बारे में पता होना, फेयरनेस के बारे में पता होना, अनबायस्डनेस, एम्पैथी के बारे में पता होना, दैट्स मॉरल नॉलेज. नेक्स्ट एस्पेक्ट इज मॉरल जजमेंट, which means you have to make a decision about moral confusions. ओके, कि ये करूँ या ये करूँ. एक बैंक में चोरी हुई है, जस्ट एन एग्जाम्पल. ओके, अ बैंक हैज़ बीन रॉब्ड. नाउ द रॉबर was in urgent need of money, because if he had not robbed the bank, uski mummy will pass away. So he was in urgent need of money to get medicine, that's why he robbed the bank. अब यहाँ पे ये चीज़ आपने विटनेस करी है. अब आपका मॉरल जजमेंट है, आपको डिसीजन लेना है कि आप पुलिस को कॉल करें या नहीं. पुलिस को कॉल करेंगे तो उसकी मदर का ट्रीटमेंट नहीं हो पाएगा, ही विल बी इन जेल. अगर आप पुलिस को कॉल नहीं करेंगे, इट्स obviously the bank has been robbed, many people's salaries and jobs are on stake. They can be fired and there will be a total career devastation. Now this is known as moral judgment. जब आपको ऐसी सिचुएशन में आ जाते हो जहाँ पे दोनों ऑप्शंस बहुत ठीक लग रहे होते हैं, बहुत गलत भी लग रहे होते हैं, बट यू हैव टू मेक द चॉइस. दैट्स मॉरल जजमेंट. मॉरल नॉलेज, basic understanding. Another aspect, judgment. The third aspect is moral motivation. Okay, it means your internal drive, your internal energy to act morally and do what is right with the sense of empathy, concern, and knowing all the perspectives, keeping all the perspectives in mind. Moral motivation, वो अंदर से जो आवाज़ आती है कि यार दिस इज़ मी, मुझे ये करना है, मैं एक सच्चा इंसान हूँ, आई हैव टू लेट पीपल नो अबाउट इट. ओके, तो हमने जो लास्ट एग्जाम्पल पिक किया बैंक रॉबरी का, उसी के सेंस में अगर हम बात करें तो देर मे बी समबडी हु वुड से यार आई थिंक life is bigger than everything else, so I think I will not inform the police about the bank robbery and I want him to save his mother. This is somebody's moral motivation, uska ye judgment hai. Whereas somebody else may think that truth above all, and they may call the police and inform. So again, nobody is wrong here in both the scenarios. और वो ही होता है moral judgment. moral का मतलब भी यही है, beliefs जो कि हमें गाइड करती हैं, हमारा behavior गाइड करती हैं. okay, and at the end of course moral behavior, behaving as per the moral beliefs. So everybody, these are certain points. morality के aspects है moral knowledge, moral judgment, moral motivation और moral behavior. okay, I hope we are clear with it. Now we'll move ahead and we'll come back to our Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Kohlberg जो था, Kohlberg ने बोला कि how people's understanding of right and wrong changes as they grow up. और ये बहुत सिंपल और बहुत अच्छी थ्योरी है, बहुत मज़ा आएगा आपको इसको पढ़ने में. हमारी टेक्स्ट बुक्स में बहुत डिटेल में है. You don't have to even go into that much detail. इस वीडियो में आपको बहुत ही शॉर्टकट में मैं आपको समझा दूँगी. कोलबर्ग ने यही बोला कि जैसे जैसे बच्चे बड़े होते जाते हैं, उनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ मॉरली करेक्ट होना और मॉरली रॉन्ग होना डेवलप और चेंज होती जाती है. ओके, मॉरल डेवलपमेंट इज़ नॉट जस्ट अबाउट फॉलोइंग रूल्स और अबाउट पनिशमेंट. ओके, वो मॉरल डेवलपमेंट वो नहीं है. मॉरल डेवलपमेंट का मतलब है कि एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग होना, जब आपको पता है कि हाँ ये मुझे करना है, ये सही है, irrespective of all the rules and norms, and it involves deeper understanding of fairness, justice, perspective, empathy and concern. Okay, let's dive into the details of it. Kohlberg ने इसमें 3 levels दिए हैं. Pre-conventional level, which is up to 10 years old, conventional level, which is up to 13 years old, and post-conventional level from 13 years old onwards. हर लेवल में 2 स्टेजेस हैं. प्री कन्वेंशनल लेवल में 2 स्टेज हैं, स्टेज 1 एंड स्टेज 2. कन्वेंशनल लेवल में भी 2 स्टेज हैं, स्टेज 3 एंड स्टेज 4. एंड पोस्ट कन्वेंशनल लेवल में भी 2 स्टेजेस हैं, स्टेज 5 एंड 6. बहुत सिंपल है. देखिए, जब बच्चा छोटा है, ये पहला स्टेज है हमारा, स्टेज 1. ये है उसका मॉरल डिसीजन बेस्ड होगा अवॉइडिंग पनिशमेंट पे. दिस इज़ द नेम ऑफ द स्टेज 1, अवॉइडिंग पनिशमेंट. द पर्सन मेक्स मॉरल डिसीजंस out of fear of punishment. Think about a child, a child might refrain from stealing cookies because he is afraid of being scolded or punished by the parents, right? तो पहला उसका moral decision जो होगा वो इसी बेसिस पे होगा. वो इसलिए सही चीज़ करेगा, इसलिए चोरी नहीं करेगा क्योंकि उसको punishment से डर लगता है. I hope you're able to understand. And that's how he will learn to be morally correct, जिससे कि उसको डांट ना पड़े, उसको मार ना पड़े. That is avoiding punishment. So this was stage 1. Now we'll come to stage 2. Okay, again ये pre-conventional level में ही है. Stage 2 is all about seeking a reward. But now here by seeking a reward we mean कि लास्ट एग्जाम्पल में जैसे हमने देखा कि उस बच्चे ने कुकी इसलिए नहीं ली क्योंकि उसको पनिशमेंट से डर था. ही वॉज अफ्रेड ऑफ बीइंग पनिश्ड. नाउ इन स्टेज 2 he would want that, okay, and the person makes the moral decision that benefit themselves, और उसके लिए वो कुछ भी exchange कर लेता है, there is a barter. So let's say that a child might share his toy with others because he hopes to receive maybe praise in return, okay. In the as per the cookie example, the child did not take the cookie in the last example because of fear of being punished, but now this time he would want his sibling to steal the cookie for him, and that's how he would seek the reward, okay. Decision that benefits themselves. So this is stage 2. Now we'll come to level 2, which is conventional level. It's for 10 to 13 years old children. It comprises stage 3 and stage 4. Now stage 3, gaining approval. Gaining approval का यहाँ मतलब है कि the person makes the moral decision based on what makes others happy. Now you saw in the last one, makes a moral decision that makes them happy. There is a switch or transition to what makes others happy. बहुत अच्छा example है कि आपने देखा होगा, a teenager might help a friend with their homework to be seen as helpful and liked by the peers, right? तो वहाँ पे उसको एक approval gain करना है, that I'm a good human being वाला approval, and that is why he would do what makes others happy in his circle or in his group, okay. We'll straight away move to stage 4, which is following rules. And in this stage, the person focuses on following societal laws, norms, and all the rules. Now there is a smooth transition between the last stage and this stage. The transition is that in the last stage, the person tries to gain approval from one or few people, one person or few people, but in the next one, he attempts to follow rules so that he's well accepted by the whole society. Okay, one fine example of this is a person might drive within the speed limit because they believe it's their duty. Okay, they would not jump the red light because they feel it's morally incorrect, right? People might not like it, and examples like that. Okay, so this was stage 4, conventional level. Now we'll move to post-conventional level, which is from 13 years old. It is 13 years old onwards. It comprises stage 5 and stage 6, and now last stage was following rules. This one is individual rights, and I think we all can very well relate to it because maybe you're in one of these stages, either in individual or in universal principles. In individual rights, the person understands that laws and rules are not absolute, okay, and they can be changed if they're unfair or if they violate basic rights. For an example, a very nice example is here. A person might participate in a protest happening for LGBTQ community to advocate for equal rights. आप इसको समझें, ओके, कि लास्ट स्टेज में आप लॉज को अबाइड कर रहे थे, सोसाइटल नॉर्म्स को अबाइड कर रहे थे, बट यहाँ पे जो ट्रांजिशन हुई है वो एक इंडिविजुअल राइट और एक इंडिपेंडेंट माइंडसेट की में ट्रांजिशन हुआ है. The person thinks that rules are rules, but if they're unfair, they have to be changed, right? And I think recently LGBTQ community has been on headlines. They've made quite a few headlines, right? So this is a very good example, okay? Individual rights. One more example, I think it's of religion. For an example, I think lately Muslim community has been asking for equal rights. They've been protesting. Abhi recently wrestlers, right? They were on Jantar Mantar and they were just fighting for their own rights. Now keeping these examples in mind, stage 6 comes, which is about universal principles. हमारी values, हमारे faith के ऊपर dependent है ये पूरा stage. इसमें the person's personal set of ethical principles guide his moral decision. Okay? यहाँ पे a person may volunteer for program of environmental sustainability क्योंकि उसको ये उसकी value है, ये उसका value system है about conservating the culture, and the environment. Okay, a person refuses to support a profitable cigarette business, a business of cigarette. Let's say that a person is an investor. उसके पास एक बिजनेस ऑफर आई है इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए, बहुत ही प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस है, बट उसने क्यों नहीं इन्वेस्ट किया उसमें? क्योंकि वो सिगरेट का बिजनेस था और वो इन्वायरमेंट को हार्म करता है. ओके, तो यहाँ पे ये उसका प्रिंसिपल है, यहाँ पे उसकी जो खुद की स्ट्रॉन्ग वैल्यू सिस्टम है वो उसको मना कर रहे हैं, एंड दैट इज़ हाउ ही इज़ टेकिंग द डिसीजन. ओके, so it's all about that, and this was all about Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Today, everybody, we are going to talk about Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. In our last videos, we had talked about Piaget's cognitive theory of development, and along with that, we had talked about Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Today, we'll be talking about Erikson's theory of psychosocial development in the easiest way possible. You just have to understand what this theory means. Okay, I've made it way simple for you in stages and in chart. Okay, I've made certain rows and columns so that you understand it in a simple way. Let's understand what this theory actually says. Psychosocial development. Okay, so this theory says that people go through different stages of growth throughout their lives. Agree or not? I hope you agree, right? And at each stage there is specific challenge or problem to overcome. Okay, now if the challenge is successfully tackled, it helps us develop important qualities, but if we struggle with the challenge, it can cause difficulties later on. ओके, साइकोसोशल डेवलपमेंट, देखो ये थ्योरी यही है कि हम हर स्टेज पे, हम जब बच्चे हैं, जब हम चाइल्डहुड में हैं, जब हम अडोलेसेंस में हैं, अडल्टहुड में हैं, मिडिल एज में हैं, या फिर हम ओल्ड एज में हैं, हमें एक चीज़ अचीव करनी है. हम वो अचीव कर लेंगे अच्छे से तो हमें आगे वाले स्टेज में प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी, और अगर हम अचीव नहीं कर पाएंगे उस स्टेज में तो दिक्कत होगी ही, और आने वाले स्टेजेस में भी दिक्कत होगी. Let's get to know it, everybody. So there are total 8 stages. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8th one. Okay. Stage 1 is trust versus mistrust. Age range है infancy, birth से लेके 1 year. Okay. की development task होता है developing a sense of trust in the world. Okay. हम पढ़ते हैं इसके बारे में. इस स्टेज में infants develop a sense of trust as their caregivers give them food, comfort, etc. And if it does not happen, they may develop a sense of mistrust. For an example, when baby cries, right? Parents give them, milk quickly, or toy or something else that helps him stay entertained or stay cool. Hence, baby learns to trust their parents, and if it doesn't happen, he ends up mistrusting the parents. Here in this stage, the core strength is hope. Okay, everybody? So this was stage 1, trust versus mistrust. Stage 2 is autonomy versus self-doubt. Autonomy मतलब अपनी कॉन्फिडेंस और अपनी एबिलिटीज़, अपने इंडिपेंडेंटली आप क्या करते हो या क्या कर सकते हो, ऑटोनॉमी उसको बोलते हैं. ओके, इंडिपेंडेंटली ड्राइव करना अपने आप को. एंड इट्स अर्ली चाइल्डहुड, एज 1 to 3 years. इसमें हमारा की डेवलपमेंट टास्क है लर्निंग टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट एंड मेकिंग चॉइसेस विद इन सेफ बाउंड्रीज. ओके, इसके बारे में पढ़ते हैं, बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल है यहाँ पे एक. इसमें हमारा जो साइकोसोशल क्राइसिस है वो है चिल्ड्रन सीक इंडिपेंडेंस. ओके, एंड अलॉन्ग विद दैट दे सीक कंट्रोल. Now, success in this stage leads to autonomy, and failure leads to shame and doubt. बहुत important point है ये. Success in this stage leads to autonomy. Okay, self confidence आएगा, वो अपने आप को drive कर पाएगा, and failure leads to feeling of shame and doubt. Example देखते हैं. If a toddler tries to wear shoes independently, even if it results in mismatched shoes, the parents praise the efforts. But If the parents are over controlling, the child would, feel ashamed and hence would develop a sense of low confidence. Okay? स्टेज है ऑटोनॉमी वर्सेस सेल्फ डाउट. हमें ऑटोनॉमी बिल्ड करवानी है. अगर वो बिल्ड नहीं होगी तो सेल्फ डाउट हो जाएगा. यहाँ पे ये इन चीज़ की क्लैश होता है. सो दिस वाज अर्ली चाइल्डहुड एंड इस स्टेज में हमारा जो कोर स्ट्रेंथ एस्पेक्ट है वो है विल पावर. All right, everybody, we'll move to our third stage, which is initiative versus guilt. ओके हमारी एज रेंज है यहाँ पे प्ले एज, प्री स्कूल की जो एज होती है 3 to 6 years की. डेवलपमेंट टास्क है एक्सप्लोरिंग एंड टेकिंग इनिशिएटिव इन एक्टिविटीज़ इन सोशल इंटरेक्शन. बच्चा इसमें सोशली इंटरेक्ट करने की पहल करता है. इनिशिएटिव का मतलब ही पहल है, राइट? इसके बारे में हम जानते हैं थोड़ा. The children develop a sense of initiative and purpose by taking on new challenges. जैसे कि if a child initiates a game and everyone else joins in, the child feels good and confident. Okay? अगर उस बच्चे को सब दबा देंगे कि अरे रे रे इसका आइडिया बेकार है, अरे नहीं 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 ये ऐसा नहीं है, अच्छा नहीं है, तो ऑब्वियसली गिल्ट बिल्ड होगा बच्चे के अंदर. ओके और फिर वो अगली बार शायद इनिशिएट ना करे, राइट? सो यहाँ का हमारा क्राइसिस है, या फिर हम बोलेंगे हाँ साइकोसोशल क्राइसिस है, इनिशिएटिव वर्सेस गिल्ट. I hope everybody we are able to make sense out of it. You can take a broader look at it before we move to stage 4. Stage 4, everybody. Here, the name of the stage is industry versus inferiority. Okay? एज रेंज है हमारी स्कूल एज 6 to 12 years. यहाँ पे हमारा की डेवलपमेंट टास्क है डेवलपिंग कॉम्पिटेंस इन एकेडमिक एंड सोशल स्किल्स. यहाँ पे हमारी पढ़ाई आ गई. ओके आप एक फ़्लो देखो. जब भी आप इसको आप याद करने बैठोगे अपने एग्ज़ाम्स के लिए, आप बिल्कुल फ़्लो से आप पढ़ना, अभी भी फ़्लो से समझो, बहुत अच्छे से आपको याद होगा. ये हमारा बचपना है जब इन्फेंट होता है. ओके उसके बाद अर्ली चाइल्डहुड जो हमारी छोटी सी जो बिल्कुल बिगिनिंग वाली प्ले चाइल्डहुड होती है, जब बच्चा बिल्कुल ही क्रॉल और वॉक करना सीखता होता है, ये प्ले एज हो जाती है. ओके ये एकेडमिक्स वाली एज हो जाती है जब बच्चा पढ़ना शुरू करता है एक्चुअली में. ओके तो यहाँ पे हमारा साइकोसोशल क्राइसिस है. चिल्ड्रन फोकस ऑन अक्वायरिंग स्किल्स, लर्निंग न्यू टास्क्स एंड डेवलपिंग अ सेंस ऑफ कॉम्पिटेंस. फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल गुड मार्क्स के लिए हम बच्चे को प्रेज कर रहे हैं, अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हैं. ओके लेकिन लो मार्क्स के लिए हम बच्चे को डांट रहे हैं. ओके और एंड कॉन्सिक्वेंटली उसमें इन्फीरियोरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स डेवलप हो रहा है, लो कॉन्फिडेंस डेवलप हो गया. सो दिस इज़ एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ इंडस्ट्री वर्सेज इन्फीरियोरिटी. एंड ऑब्वियसली लो मार्क्स आर नॉट साइन ऑफ दैट यू आर नॉट गुड एट something. Maybe you're scoring low in your exams, but maybe you have the actual practical skills of it, right? So this is what stage talks about, industry versus inferiority. और यहाँ पे हमारा core strength element है competence. Okay, we'll move to stage 5, everybody, which is identity versus role confusion. ये भी बहुत अच्छा वो है स्टेज है. एंड मैं इसका एक सिंपल एग्जांपल आपको दूंगी कि जब भी हम अडोलेसेंस में होते हैं, जैसे 12 से 18 जो एज है, दिस इज़ आवर अडोलेसेंस एज, राइट? वहाँ पे बच्चे अपने आप को ढूंढने की कोशिश करते हैं, जैसे कि यहाँ पे लिखा भी हुआ है, फॉर्मिंग अ क्लियर सेंस ऑफ सेल्फ एंड एस्टैब्लिशिंग एन आइडेंटिटी. Adolescents, explore their personal identity and they try to establish a sense of self. इसमें sense of self में आएगा career wise, sexuality wise, right, hobbies wise, interest wise, and so many emotional being and so many other things, right? For an example, a teenager who constantly explores different hobbies, interest, forms a clear idea about his identity. In contrast, a teenager who is confused about his identity, even after exploring, he may experience role confusion and feel confused about his identity. ओके यहाँ पे हमारा जो की स्ट्रेंथ एलिमेंट है वो है फिडेलिटी. फिडेलिटी का मतलब होता है लॉयलिटी टू वन सेल्फ. एवरीबडी ओके? सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेज. अगेन फ्लो आप समझो, एकेडमिक्स और उसके बाद सेल्फ आइडेंटिटी. All right, we'll move to stage 6, which is intimacy versus isolation. Intimacy, partner मिलना, डीप फ्रेंडशिप एंड डीप लव में होना वर्सेस आइसोलेशन. अगर हमें पार्टनर या साथी नहीं मिलता है, if we face constant heartbreaks, we move to, or we get pushed into isolation stage, अकेलेपन और डिप्रेसिंग स्टेट में पहुंच जाते हैं. सो इसकी एज ऑब्वियसली यंग अडल्टहुड 18 to 40 ईयर्स का पूरा पीरियड है जो कि चलता है interacting with people. It includes interacting with people, falling in love, forming deep friendships, deciding who to marry, and then finally marrying the person. Okay. इसमें हमारा चैलेंज है establishing and maintaining intimate loving relationship with others. Psychological crisis, young adults seek close, meaningful, deep friendships and relationships. For an example, an adult experiences intimacy because of the deep friendship. They form connections with others and develop a sense of emotional security. And vice versa. If the adult fails to experience intimacy, if the adult fails to face or experience deep friendship, they feel emotionally insecure. हमारा यहाँ पे जो स्ट्रेंथ एलिमेंट है, एस्पेक्ट है, वो है लव. स्टेज 7 एवरीवन, विच इज़ जनरेटिविटी वर्सेस स्टैग्नेशन. बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है ये भी स्टेज. अगेन फ्लो. ओके, आइडेंटिटी, उसके बाद इट्स इंटिमेसी, एंड नाउ वी हैव जनरेटिविटी. जनरेटिविटी मतलब कि एडिंग वैल्यू. Generativity मतलब कि adding value in your society, giving back to the society and to your family and to your generations to come. Versus stagnation मतलब आप रुके हुए हो, आप किसी लायक नहीं हो. ओके, सो ये अगर हम ये नहीं मीट कर पाते हैं तो हम इसमें अटक के रह जाते हैं. The human or the person stays stuck in it. Adulthood obviously 40 to 65 years, जिसमें हमारे पेरेंट्स यूजुअली हैं, एंड आई एम श्योर यू विल बी एबल टू रिलेट इट टू इट कि हमारा जो की एस्पेक्ट यहाँ पे है वो है contributing to society and future generations through work. Individuals shift their focus towards contributing to society and leaving a lasting legacy through raising a family, pursuing a career, being a mentor, engaging in community service, etc. Okay, and a middle-aged man doing all of it, okay, all of this, and finding a sense of fulfillment and purpose in positively shaping the next generation, जैसा कि मैंने बताया. okay, and यहाँ पे हमारा strength element है care. everybody, last stage हमारा, you can have a look at it before I move ahead. all right, हमारा लास्ट स्टेज एवरीबडी इज़ इंटेग्रिटी, ऑनेस्टी विद वन सेल्फ अगेन, वर्सेस डिस्पेयर. इसमें लेट अडल्टहुड है 65 ईयर्स एंड अबव, वेयर अ पर्सन, हमारा जो की एस्पेक्ट है, आवर की डेवलपमेंट टास्क इज़ reflecting on life with a sense of fulfillment and acceptance. Okay, psychosocial crisis कहता है कि individuals engage in retrospective, introspective and evaluative, and they evaluate the outcome of their lives by reflecting on accomplishments, achievements and life choices. हमारे जो ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स की एज होती है, जब वो रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं, सोचते हैं कि उन्होंने क्या अचीव किया, क्या वो कर पाए अपनी फैमिली के लिए, क्या क्या नहीं कर पाए, क्या बेटर हो सकता था. सो ऑल ऑफ दैट इंट्रोस्पेक्शन एंड रिफ्लेक्शन टेक्स प्लेस इन दिस लास्ट स्टेज, स्टेज 8. So yeah, देखो सेम लिखा भी हुआ है. An elderly man who reflects on all of it now will approach the later stage of life with a sense of fulfillment, wisdom and acceptance. Key strength element is wisdom here, everybody. Okay. All right, this is the last segment of this unit, of our unit, where we are going to talk about factors affecting growth and development. We'll quickly be talking about heredity and environment, growth and maturation, parenting and media. And it's really simple, everybody. It's really simple. Let's quickly get started. Heredity and environment. Okay, heredity means traits passed from parents to offspring, okay, which impacts a person's development. For an example, फिज़िकल ट्रेट, आप खुद देखो, जो कि आप जैसे दिखते हो, आई एम श्योर यू ईदर लुक लाइक योर मदर और योर फादर, और मे बी समटाइम्स फ्रॉम from your grandparents, genes also pass through the generation. So physical traits, है ना, वो है. सेकेंड है कॉग्निटिव एबिलिटी एंड इंटेलेक्चुअल पोटेंशियल. आपने ये भी नोटिस किया होगा कि इफ़ योर पेरेंट्स, इफ़ वन ऑफ योर पेरेंट्स इज़ रियली क्विक विटेड, यू ऑल्सो हैव दैट. हाजिर जवाबी आ जाती है, पास होती है फ्रॉम वन जनरेशन टू अदर जनरेशन डिपेंडिंग अपॉन पेरेंट्स ट्रेट्स. ओके, अगर आपकी फादर या आपकी मदर मैथ में अच्छी थी तो सरप्राइजिंगली यू ऑल्सो आर इंटरेस्टेड इन दैट. कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि हमारे इंटरेस्ट्स बहुत मैच करते हैं जो हमारे पेरेंट्स के इंटरेस्ट होते हैं. जैसे कि माई मदर was always so much into art and craft, and and if I look at myself, I truly feel that I've got it from her only. तो cognitive abilities and intellectual potential भी हमारा heredity का trait है. Learning styles, yes, if learning styles are like auditory learner हो आप, या visual learner हो, या read and write वाले learner हो, kinesthetic learner हो, तो कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि जैसे a person feels disengaged very quickly, but if there are visuals, he or she feels more engaged. If there are colors, if it is neatly presented, he or she feels more engaged. So this also is a hereditary trait passed from your parents to you. Personality traits, yes, गुस्सा आना या फिर बहुत पोलाइट होना, स्वीट होना, हेल्पफुल होना, एम्पैथेटिक होना, ये सारी जो पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट्स हैं ये भी हमें हेरिडिटी में मिलती हैं. देर आर मैनी दैट वी गेट इट एंड देर आर मैनी अदर दैट वी डेवलप ओवर टाइम. हेल्थ वल्नरेबिलिटी इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. अगर आपकी फैमिली हिस्ट्री है गठिया या हड्डी की बीमारियों में, देन देर आर चांसेस कि आपको भी वो विरासत में मिल जाए ना चाहते हुए भी. अगर आपकी फैमिली हिस्ट्री है रेस्पिरेटरी डिजीज़ में, तो ना चाहते हुए यू विल ऑल्सो गेट इट. There are chances. So this was all about heredity, everybody. Environment means external factors impacting a person's development. जैसे कि लैंग्वेज एंड कम्युनिकेशन बहुत हद तक डिपेंड करता है. आप जिस इन्वायरमेंट में रह रहे हो वो आपकी लैंग्वेज बिल्कुल वैसी बनेगी. इंग्लिश है, फ्लुएंट है, आपकी भी वही बनेगी. बट अगर आप ऐसे इन्वायरमेंट पे रह रहे हो जहाँ पे इट्स अब्यूजिव कल्चर, दे यूज़ स्लैंग लैंग्वेज, अब्यूजिव लैंग्वेज, तो वैसा ही वो बनेगा माहौल, वैसे ही आप डेवलप करोगे. कम्युनिकेशन भी जैसे कि इफ़ यू आर फ्रॉम बिहार, देन वहाँ शुरू से ही सर्च वो अलग तरीके से प्रोनाउंस करते हैं, वो ड़ अलग तरीके से प्रोनाउंस करते हैं, बंगालीज़ अलग तरीके से प्रोनाउंस करते हैं. तो एक इन्वायरमेंट का इम्पैक्ट हमारे बोलचाल पे बहुत होता है. पीयर इन्फ्लुएंस 100%, both in a positive and a negative way. Positive way, if I see that my peers are striving hard to score well, I too will get influenced, and I too will be driven. At the same time, if I see that my peers are smoking a cigarette in order to feel stress free, I may get influenced and I may start smoking a cigarette to get relaxation too. Okay, socioeconomic factor, absolutely. Socioeconomic factor means the status of my family. उसका बहुत इम्पैक्ट होता है हमारे ग्रोथ और डेवलपमेंट में. छोटी छोटी ज़रूरतों से लेके बड़ी बड़ी चीज़ों तक, है ना. आपके स्कूल में आपका एडमिशन होता है, आपको क्या खाने के लिए, कितना न्यूट्रिएंट फूड आप खाते हो, तो ये सारी चीज़ें हमारे सोशो इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर पे डिपेंड करती हैं. कल्चरल एंड सोशल नॉर्म 100%. वी लर्न अबाउट डिफरेंट कल्चर्स, डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव from our environment, and educational and learning opportunities also depend on our environment. So जैसे मैंने भी स्कूल का एग्जाम्पल दिया, मैंने लैंग्वेज और कम्युनिकेशन का एग्जाम्पल दिया, तो वो सारा इसमें भी आएगा, इस पे भी एप्लीकेबल है. ओके, लर्निंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ ऑब्वियसली अगर आप शहर में हो, इफ़ यू आर इन द कैपिटल ऑफ द सिटी, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई लिव इन नोएडा right now. It's a hub of educational centers, and job opportunities are immense here, right, as compared to maybe any village or any rural area of any other place, right. So ऐसे हमारी growth और development impact होती है through heredity and environment. We'll talk about the next factor, which is growth and maturation. Maturation का मतलब होता है it refers to maturation and learning. They are two interconnected processes in human development. Maturation is a natural process of growth, okay, and development that occurs in an individual over time. Learning is acquiring knowledge by studying, by getting taught, okay, by experiencing, etc. Now, how learning and maturation impact each other? आप जितने मेच्योर हो आप उतने रेडी हो लर्निंग के लिए. सो रेडीनेस फॉर लर्निंग. मेच्योरेशन डिटरमाइंस हाउ रेडी द लर्नर इज़ फॉर एक्वायरिंग अ पर्टिकुलर नॉलेज और स्किल. एक एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ. हमारे स्कूल में इफ़ यू रिकॉल, जैसे कि ऑब्वियसली यू नो साउंड से शुरू होता है, बहुत बेसिक पोम्स और चैंट्स सिखाते हैं हमको शुरू में व्हेन वी आर इन किंडरगार्टन, नर्सरी. दैट यू नो दिस जस्ट रिमाइंड्स मी ऑफ वन topic that used to be there in our science book, which was about reproduction, and that topic was introduced in our class 9th or 10th. ओके, विच मीन्स कि हम तब उतने मेच्योर हो गए थे कि हमको वो टॉपिक इंट्रोड्यूस कराया जा सके. वी वर रेडी टू लर्न दैट एंड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट. ओके, अगर उसे छोटी एज में कराएंगे सो the child may or may not understand it. The child may laugh it off, or the child may feel uncomfortable about it. Okay, next is individual differences. Different rates of maturing hota hai, as we just learned in stages of development that girls hit puberty early as compared to men. So, and girls maybe let's say somebody hits puberty or in her early adolescence, somebody in late adolescence. तो वो जो different rate पे हम grow करते हैं physically, mentally, emotionally, उसके हिसाब से learning का एडजस्टमेंट होना, इंस्ट्रक्शंस का एडजस्टमेंट होना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज़ वेरी मच कनेक्टेड टू द प्रीवियस पॉइंट, विच इज़ मेथड्स ऑफ टीचिंग. सो टीचर्स मस्ट चूज टीचिंग मेथड अकॉर्डिंगली, अकॉर्डिंग टू द लेवल ऑफ मेच्योरेशन. एक बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल मुझे भी याद आया. I used to work at a place where I used to work with really young teachers at one point of time. So obviously they were of 21, 22 years of age, 23 years of age, but just because they were fresh out of college, their mental age was just not matching with their physical age. So I could see that they were still children. They were behaving like new college kids, 18 years old, 19 years old. और फिर जब हमने उनको teaching classroom में भेजा, so they were they struggled to set right examples for students क्योंकि वो खुद ही बच्चों की तरह behave कर रहे थे, right? So mental age matters a lot as compared with keeping physical age in the mind. तो method of teaching उसी हिसाब से होने चाहिए. Social and emotional growth, obviously, maturation and learning are connected to how learners interact and handle emotions. So social and emotional growth and personal growth. Obviously, the more matured you are, the more learning you are able to grasp. So everybody, this was all about maturation and learning growth. Next we have parenting. Parenting again बहुत simple है. It refers to the process of raising and nurturing children, providing them with care, guidance and support as they grow and develop. Various aspects that parenting keeps in mind is nurturing, emotional support देना बच्चे को, setting boundaries and discipline, education and learning देना अच्छी proper, being a role model by parents to the child and instilling right values and right morals and ethics. Types कौन से होते हैं? पहला है अथॉरिटेरियन पेरेंटिंग. ओके, अथॉरिटेरियन पेरेंटिंग मीन्स when parents are strict and demanding, they are setting high expectations and rules for their children, okay, and they value obedience and discipline, and they often use punishment as a means of control. So again, strict and demanding parents. इंडल्जेंट पेरेंटिंग का एक और नाम होता है परमिसिव पेरेंटिंग. सो परमिसिव पेरेंट्स हैव मोर लीनियंट एंड इंडल्जेंट अप्रोच. So they tend to be nurturing and warm, but at the same time they will also have loose boundaries for their children. So they would let their child grow on their own. Okay. उसके बाद है अथॉरिटेटिव. एवरीबडी प्लीज़ बी वेरी केयरफुल. ये दोनों वर्ड्स बहुत सिमिलर लगते हैं लेकिन डिफरेंट है. अथॉरिटेरियन है वो स्ट्रिक्ट, एंड अथॉरिटेटिव है ये वाला जिसका मतलब होता है बैलेंस्ड अप्रोच. सो अथॉरिटेटिव पेरेंट्स आर कैरेक्टराइज्ड बाय अ बैलेंस्ड अप्रोच. दे सेट क्लियर एक्सपेक्टेशंस एंड रूल्स, बट एट द सेम टाइम दे ऑल्सो शो वार्मथ, support and care. Okay, so it's like that. Next we have neglectful parenting. I think the name itself is explanatory. Neglectful parents are uninvolved, they are indifferent towards their children's needs. They may be emotionally detached, failing to provide necessary care and attention. Okay. उसके बाद है helicopter parenting. It's really unique, right? So helicopter parenting, helicopter parents are highly involved and overprotective. They constantly monitor their child's activities. They intervene excessively in their lives. Okay, while their intentions may be well-meaning, okay, but this style can actually hinder the children's autonomy and self-reliance. Okay, तो दैट इज़ हेलीकॉप्टर ओवर प्रोटेक्टिव. अटैचमेंट, आई थिंक अगेन आपको समझ आ ही गया होगा. अटैचमेंट पेरेंट्स एम्फसाइज नर्चरिंग एंड क्रिएटिंग स्ट्रॉन्ग इमोशनल बॉन्ड्स विद चिल्ड्रन. ओके, जैसे कि को स्लीपिंग विद चाइल्ड, बेबी वेयरिंग, रिस्पॉन्सिव फीडिंग टू प्रमोट अ सिक्योर अटैचमेंट बिटवीन पेरेंट एंड चाइल्ड. तो ये सब होता है. एंड लास्ट में है हमारा पॉजिटिव पेरेंटिंग. Positive parenting means positive reinforcement, mutual respect, okay, and open communication. So and positive parenting में healthy parent child relationship होती है, and it promotes children's self esteem and well-being. Okay everybody, so this was all about the types. The last element here is media. Media हम सबको पता है, means of communication. It refers to various forms of communication including TV, movies, music, the internet, social media and video games. इसके पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट ग्रोथ और डेवलपमेंट के बच्चे पे, और इसके नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट आई थिंक ये हम सबको पता है कि देर आर पॉजिटिव एंड नेगेटिव्स. विल क्विकली गो थ्रू इट एंड विल जस्ट will end our conversation. So पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट, इंफॉर्मेशन एंड एजुकेशन हमें प्रोवाइड करती है. मीडिया हमारे क्रिएटिव बड्स को रीएक्टिवेट करती है. सोशल कनेक्शन बढ़ाने में हेल्प करती है थ्रू डिफरेंट एप्लीकेशंस. एक्सपोजर टू डिफरेंट कल्चर पर्सपेक्टिव प्रोवाइड कराती है थ्रू ऑब्वियसली थ्रू इंटरनेट. एंड देर आर मैनी लर्निंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज़, जैसे कि आजकल आप देख ही रहे होंगे, देर आर मैनी कोर्सेज दैट आर अवेलेबल ऑनलाइन. मूक्स हो गए, कोर्सेज हो गए, तो वो सब है. नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट ऑब्वियसली अनरियलिस्टिक बॉडी इमेज. आई थिंक ये तो बहुत बड़ा लो पॉइंट है. देर आर अनरियलिस्टिक beauty standards ki you women must have thicker lips, heavier hips, slimmer waist, right, fair complexion etc. तो वो बहुत ही it's really unrealistic and I think unwelcoming standards that they've set. Violence and aggression, obviously, I think because media does provide information, it does also provide information on how to make bombs. The cultural and the religion disputes, it's all over the place. And I think misinformation और ये जो influence वाला point है, ये बहुत connected है इससे. जैसे कि misinformation फैलने में, influence करने में टाइम नहीं लगता है, तो brain washing वाला element भी आ जाता है, जैसे indoctrination वाला. साइबर बुलिंग, ऑब्वियसली साइबर बुलिंग के केसेस बहुत बढ़ गए हैं बिकॉज everybody is so much vulnerable to online threats. People do get caught and then they do get harassed as well. Sedentary lifestyle का मतलब यही है कि because of media our physical exposure to world has become limited. हम एक जगह ही बैठे हुए हैं. It's exercise and everything else has become less or restricted. Okay everybody, so this was all about media and this was all about factors, everybody, of factors that affect growth and development. And everybody, this was all about unit 1, which was development of child at different stages. I really hope you were able to understand. If yes, you can drop me a note in comment. I would love to read that. I would feel that my work is appreciated. And let me know if you're looking forward to a video on any topic. I'll definitely create a video on that. And I wish you all the best for your exams. Bye bye.